Hello students. So our today's chapter is Law and Social Justice. In this chapter we will cover Bhopal gas tragedy, workers' worth, few safety laws and few laws which are related to environment as a public facility and its summary. Let us understand few word meanings. So consumer. Consumer usually means an individual who buys goods for its personal use and does not do reselling. Next word is producer. A person or an organization that produces goods for sale in the market. Next is investment. A money spent to purchase new machinery or buildings or training so as to be able to increase or modernize production in future. So usually the industries do investment to get output. And the last word is workers' union. Worker unions are common in factories and offices. So it is an association of workers. The leaders of the union bargain and negotiate with the employer on behalf of its member, and the issues can be related to wages, rules of governing, hiring and firing and promotion of workers. So in this slide we will try to understand there are some certain law that prevents exploitation. So whether it is worker, consumer or producer, markets everywhere tends to be exploitative of people. Now talking about the word exploitation, it means to giving unfair treatment to somebody. So to protect people from such exploitation, the government makes certain laws. These laws try to ensure that the unfair practices are kept at a minimum in the markets. So who is ensuring these laws are being implemented? It is the government who enforces. So enforcement becomes even more important when the law seeks to protect the weak from the strong. So there are two crucial laws which works in the favor of workers and consumer. First is the Minimum Wages Act, which is for workers, and the another law for consumers is the Consumer Protection Act. So what is Minimum Wages Act? Minimum Wages Act ensures the payment to the worker are being paid fairly. Hence, the minimum wages are revised upwards every few years. Whereas law for consumer, that is the Consumer Protection Act, ensures and encourages the consumers to come forward and speak against the insufficiency and flaws in goods and services, if any. To raise awareness among the consumers, here are some articles. Let's have a look on them. One of them is Jago Grahak Jago. That means consumers should remain alert. Let us better understand how the workers are being exploited. So this is all about a tragedy which took place in Bhopal. So 39 years ago, on December 2, 1984, the world's most industrial tragedy took place, in which a Union Carbide, an American company, had a factory in the city in which it produced pesticides, and at midnight methyl isonite, a highly poisonous gas, started leaking from the UC plant. So within the 3 days, more than 8,000 people were dead, hundreds of thousands were maimed. So this disaster was not an accident. You see, the company owners deliberately ignore the essential safety measures in order to cut costs. So it is said that the most of those exposed to the poison gas came from poor working class families, of which nearly 50,000 people are today too sick to work. Among those who survived, many developed severe respiratory disorders, eye problems, and other disorders. So this gas tragedy shows how workers are being exploited. So, despite the evidences pointing to the UC as responsible for the disaster, it refused to accept responsibility. So, there was a legal battle between the government and the survivors. People are still fighting for justice, for safe drinking water there. They also demand that the Anderson, the UC chairman who faces criminal charges, be prosecuted. So, if we are to understand the events leading to the Bhopal disaster, we have to ask, why did Union Carbide or UC set up its plant in India? Yes, because it is cheaper labor. So, labor is easily available in India. So, the foreign companies get long hours of work in lower pay. So, this is a cost cutting which is done by the foreign companies. So, cost cutting can be done in terms of the safety measures and working conditions. So, after having a look at the Bhopal gas tragedy and getting to know about why foreign companies hire cheap labor from India, in this regard, what government can do? Government can do is the enforcement. In 1984, there were very few laws protecting the environment in India, and there was hardly any enforcement of these laws. And whereas environment was treated as free entity and any industry could pollute the air and water without any restrictions. Also in this case, what government has a role to play in regard to environment? So after the Bhopal disaster brought the issue of environment to the forefront. So in regard to protect the environment, courts have also given number of judgments. One of the judgment in Subhash Kumar versus State of Bihar 1991, the Supreme Court held that the right to life is a fundamental right under Article 21 of the Constitution, and it includes the right to the enjoyment of pollution-free water and air for full enjoyment of life. These laws and judgments will help to check pollution, clean rivers, and introduce heavy fines. So the government has a leading role in respect to environment, where people can exert pressure so both that private companies and the government act in the interest of society. Because laws are necessary in many situations, whether this be the market, office or factory, so as to protect people from unfair practices. Thank you.